let's dive back in to the COVID-19 vaccine to dispel this misinformation, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
So, as I was saying, COVID-19 vaccine is an mRNA-based vaccine, so it is a relatively new type of vaccine used to prevent infectious disease, but actually has been around for a couple of decades. So what they do with this is, instead of putting a weakened or an activated virus into our bodies, one of the different types of vaccines, of course, that we talked about a bit earlier, mRNA vaccines teach our cells how to make a protein that triggers an immune response inside of our bodies. And again, the most fascinating part about all this is we can do this without ever having to expose anybody to the virus.
Correct.
That alone is a scientific miracle.
Yes.
And this strand of mRNA from the SARS-CoV-2 virus teaches our cells how to make what is called the spike protein.
Spike protein.
That is found on the surface of the pathogen.
Mm-hmm.
And once the mRNA instructions are inside of our cells, our immune cells... Wait.
It's like you're giving our cells a little blueprint on how to make the spike protein, and our immune system goes, hey, that looks bad. That's foreign.
Once these mRNA instructions are inside of the host cell, or host cell, I guess we'll call it here. So once the instructions are inside the cells then use them to make the protein, the spike protein, piece by piece. And after the protein piece is made, the cell then breaks down the instructions and gets rid of them, so that mRNA does not stick around forever. It is used by the ribosome. God, all my biology from college and high school is coming back here.
The powerhouse of the cell.
The mRNA piece is used by the ribosome within the cell to create this protein, which then resolves to the spike protein on the surface of the cell. So next, the cell displays this protein piece on its surface, and our immune systems recognize that the protein doesn't belong there and build an immune response. And
how does it know that?
Antibodies, such as the body does against natural COVID-19.
How does it know that?
How does it know that?
How does it know that that's not wanted?
Because our bodies are an incredible piece of biological machinery. After the cell creates the protein using the mRNA piece from the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the cell displays the protein on its surface, and our immune systems recognize that the protein doesn't belong there and builds an immune response. So not once, like I said, does an actual SARS-CoV-2 virus enter the body to produce an immune response, which is incredible. And the mRNA strand never enters the nucleus of the cell, which is where our DNA is kept, because it is biologically impossible. Mm-hmm. For the record, to anybody out there who may think that the COVID-19 vaccine, because of its mRNA type, is something related to gene therapy, which I have seen floating around, which is absolutely false.
Yeah, I don't want to change my genes.
It is biologically impossible for that mRNA to enter the nucleus of the cell where our DNA is kept.
Mm-hmm.
So, researchers have been studying and working with mRNA vaccines for decades, so it's been around for quite some time. And it's, of course, only recently interest has grown significantly because they can be developed easily in a lab using readily available materials. And, of course, this process, because it can be done in a lab, can be standardized and scaled up, making vaccine development faster than traditional methods like the live attenuated, the toxoid, and the inactivated methods. They can be developed so much faster than those methods of making vaccines in the past.
Yeah.
And future mRNA vaccines may allow for one vaccine to provide protection against multiple diseases, which would be incredible. So then you can only use 1 or 2 shots to cover a majority of diseases versus having multiple shots for the same disease or a handful of different diseases.
Yeah.
Like, they're thinking with this mRNA technology, they very well could develop a true vaccine for the common cold because they can cover all the different coronavirus variants.
Yep, the variants and all that. Now, why can't they... I'm guessing this is because this is brand new. They're probably having trouble with the variants of COVID-19 because that's actually a good point because it can cover the variant we have here in the USA and the variant that's in UK, just not the variant in South Africa, right?
Well, it's
or
still...
trouble, right? Trouble.
Well, it's still, from what I was reading, it still can provide some immunity. It's not as much as the other the other two variants of the virus, but it does reduce the efficacy a bit.
Yeah, like you probably won't die.
Right. You won't get severe disease.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but, and that's the thing. Viruses are evolving and changing all the time, depending on the type of virus. Coronaviruses tend to evolve quite frequently. So, this is one of those diseases that we may have to get a vaccine for every year or every 2 years.
Possibly.
The influenza virus mutates rapidly, which is why we have a new flu vaccine every year.